It's now your time for questions, comments, and responses. If you can indicate by show of hand, we would acknowledge you and take your interventions and then come back for another round. So I'll label you as number one. Let's take a few more hands.
I think this morning I read that the EC had said on their webpage that the equipment that were used for the biometric registration, some of them are going to be changed for verification purposes during the election proper. For me, it looks like there was a lot of, there was lack of education. So when the process started, especially in the first phase, you had people rushing. Again, linking this to equipment failure in places where you have a lot of people registering because of this lack of education, it's possible that on the day of election, we're going to have problems. So how will the EC manage such a situation? What are some of the suggestions that we can make to the EC to make this manageable? Because I foresee a situation whereby on election day, because of the way the process went, now, depending on where you register, that's where you are expected to vote. It's likely that for the period of voting, once voting opens and the time ends, it's likely in certain centers that people may still have queues at the end of the day, and that could pose problem for us. How do we manage it? Thank you.
And in fact, the person in charge directly of the biometric voter registration. So let him comment before we come in. Mr. Akumia.
This report will help us in the next phases of our exercise. The first question is about the equipment. Let me say here that it is not the registration equipment that will be used for verification. What we are using for the registration is a data capture equipment, and what will be used is a verification device. So as time goes on, we'll tell you how different they are and what plans we have to make sure that some of this breakdown will be abated. Then when it comes to the trooping of people to polling station, in effect on polling day, these are things we actually anticipated and we have plans for it. First and foremost, if people oversubscribe in a particular registration center, during polling, that registration center will be split into several polling booths with separate officials. This has been done in the past and will continue to do it. Remember, for registration, we don't have figures like voting. So we are not able to put people where they want to be initially. But we can do what we call splitting of polling stations. Then, what did you say?
About education.
Yes, as for education, I don't know how I can measure it, but as we sit here today, education is going on. We are on the television daily. We are in the papers. And then we have what we call our public educators also in the rural areas. If any of you chance to go to the rural areas, you can attest that education there goes down more than in the urban areas. I'm not saying this maybe to fight the urban areas, but I know people who don't even listen to televisions already, and they keep on asking you, we haven't seen your adverts. They are there. On our website, we have all information. So I would say I think we've done enough when we talk about education. We've done publicity enough. That is why you have people rushing to the registration centers. Thank you.
We want a successful voting come December. I think it's incumbent on all of us to ensure that the education is undertaken by not just the Electoral Commission, but by all of us. I know it is their responsibility, but all the same, we can also help. And I think this media briefing is all part of the educational process. Thank you very much, Mr. Akumia.
While the EC is here, I'm a member of the advisory board of Codeo, but there is a thorny issue that the EC is not come clean yet. On the issue of ordinarily resident. What is the EC's definition of ordinarily resident? And I would like you to also extend it that, let's say, the qualification to register, whether it is the same thing as qualification to be a member of parliament for that area. So this issue of residence, whether now you have cleared yourself And what will you tell the public so that we rest this issue once and for all?
This issue of ordinarily resident is still going to be in the public domain until we all decide to interpret it as the regulation says. You can find this in our laws regarding the voting in the unit committee and in the assembly. Unfortunately, you don't see the definition in the registration regulation. So I don't want to maybe give my personal point of view. I want people to go and reference to our regulations. What we've been saying is that if such a case happens, you can challenge, and we have people who have been given the law to interpret. We have the District Registration Review Committee, who actually will be the best to interpret in terms of the locality and those looking residents over there. I believe if we sit here and we ask almost everybody, there will be different shades of opinion, whether somebody works at a place and he leaves at 10 p.m. and comes 5 a.m., it will be difficult to establish. Let's leave it to the lawmakers.
This is Chief Superintendent Uklu Jamra Joseph, the Divisional Commander for Accra Central Division, where Odududu, Almighty Odududu falls. I am here representing the Regional Commander. Unfortunately, he is attending another one at IEA, Institute of Economic Affairs, so he asked me to represent him over here. And the main message he gave me to present over here is this issue of ordinarily resident. The hulabaloo and the problems associated with the registration process at our area, Almighty Odududu, has all stemmed from this issue of interpreting ordinarily resident. Because if we take a critical look at the places where we have recorded a few cases of violence, we realize that most of those areas are commercial areas where we hardly have people normally resident, that is sleeping there. If you find people sleeping there, mainly they are squatters and people who have no known places of residence apart from the streets and stuff like that. And because of that, when some people who normally come there to transact their business go to these centers to vote, those who think they are ordinarily resident there challenge them. And that is where the problem has cropped up most of the time. Some even have the guts, according to the reports we have, to stop the people from registering altogether because they say that, no, you people are not staying here, so we will not allow you to register, which is definitely not the case because there is a provision for challenge. Now, when we tried to curb that kind of problem, what they resorted to was to challenge almost everybody who goes there to register. They are challenging, and it became an issue, so they were always calling us to come over there and help. And we go there and we realize this is virtually an easy problem because they have been given the chance to challenge. And they are challenging all being what we are. As soon as the person is challenged and he is denied of his registration card, he gets angry and the whole hell breaks loose. And that is where we are having this kind of problem. So if there was to be any way, or if there is any way by which the interpretation can be done, whether at the Supreme Court or wherever, it should be done here and now. Because without it, we shall continue to have this kind of problems. And only God knows what will happen during the election period. So please, EC, the onus still lies on you to come up and tell us something. Because without a clear definition, we cannot avoid this problem. Even if we put 100 policemen at every registration center, it will not solve the problem. And then secondly, I would want to assure Ghanaians and those in Accra for that matter, that all the cases reported at our end are being investigated. Mama talked about the expeditious investigation of these cases. We are surely doing that. And nobody should hesitate to report any such matters to the police. The one thing with the security services is we don't usually come out to tell you we are doing A or B or C. An investigation takes some time if you want to arrive at very good results. So I want to assure you that all these cases which have been reported at our end, so far as the registration process is concerned, they are all being investigated and none will be left out. And perpetrators of whatever crimes are definitely going to be brought to book. So rest assured. And do not lose confidence in the police because we are working to the best of our ability and will never let Ghana down. Thank you very much.
Quickly bring greetings from my headquarters and communicate to you, Codeo, that my headquarters is extremely in support of all the activities that you engage yourselves in. And we'll avail ourselves at any given point in time to ensure that we collectively achieve what we are supposed to achieve in this country. Let me quickly start with where the officer ended. Mr. Chairperson, as a political party, we've also been doing our observation, especially in relation to the biometric registration. And one of the things we realized was that issues about political violence, when it is reported to the appropriate authorities, the delayance in the giving attention to it normally discourages individuals from still pursuing political violent activities with the appropriate authorities. There have been instances in this country where members of parliament have been challenged, and before the issue will be determined by the court, that member has finished serving his term in parliament. And so if I belong to the aggrieved party, and I know that this is how things are going to be, the tendency of me not respecting that institution where I'm supposed to seek justice is very high. So again, I will plead with the institutions involved, the police, the judiciary, to find a way of putting prompt attention on issues relating to political violence. Now, the other thing we observe, which is a worry to us, is the way and manner in which other political parties send their agents to polling stations. Virtually what those agents are doing, they are policing the processes. The question we asked, and as a political party, that was the decision we took, that we are not going to involve ourselves in this. So I'm sure when Codeo was going around, they never saw PNC's reps on the ground. We want to find a way of ensuring that the activities of the appropriate authorities or the institutions, the Electoral Commission, the police, to a very large extent, our followers will believe in their outcome. The reason why I will send an agent to go and, quote-unquote, police the processes is simply because I don't believe in the workings of the Electoral Commission. And we think we have had elections over and over since independence. We think, especially from '92 to date, we have had a bit of a longer year for us to get to the level where we say, look, we believe in the institutions' workings. And for that matter, if this is about registration and the Electoral Commission comes out and gives us a report and says that this is the number of people who registered here, we shouldn't have any cause to doubt. But if political parties are still policing the activities of Electoral Commission, then it might also create the impression, or it might communicate that Electoral Commission may not be doing something that is, encouraging the confidence of the populace in their work. So it would be good if we can be concentrating on, as EC reps are here, we can be concentrating on asking ourselves, what exactly are we doing that is not building the confidence in the populace for them to go to the extent of there's police there, there are our officers there, and yet they are sending people to come and do the policing there. Last but not the least is about our political leaders. We must also find a way of seeing ourselves as working hand in hand with the appropriate institutions, not as working in opposing ways. And I'm going to give an example to this. Just about 3 weeks or so ago, I was driving in town, and I was stopped by this gentleman. Apparently, he has seen the party symbol on my car. So he stopped and he said, "Boss, I'm with your party, but there's a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "This is where I live." And where he showed me as a place he lives, just across the street, is a polling station. He said, "I've been going there over and over, and they are refusing me registration." So I asked why. And he said, "They are telling me that where I live, they say there's going to be another polling station, and that is going to begin operation on the 27th. And so I should wait for that." But I don't believe them. So I asked why. He said, "It is simply because that area, when they perceive you to belong to a particular political party, then they frustrate you." So I said, "That's okay. Just give me your number. I'll call you by close of day." Before I got home, I had gotten in touch with the Electoral Commission. They gave me the district officer in charge there. I called, and I just asked, "Polling station ABC, when is registration going to begin?" Then he said, "It's going to begin on the 27th, just like what my colleague, this was told." Then I said, "Okay, assuming I'm living in this particular area," I gave the description. "Where am I supposed to do the registration?" Then he also said the same place. So it confirms what they told my member. So I called my member and I told him that, "Wait till 27th. If you are still being denied, call and tell me." 27th came, 28th, he called and told me that here, the registration has been done. What I'm driving at is this. If it was another political party's leader, he would have quickly rushed to the radio station to say that my people are being denied registration. Let's move out. You get the scenario. So let us also see to it that as political leaders, our duty is not to oppose the workings of Electoral Commission, but we are supposed to see ourselves as partners so that we will be working hand in hand. And in conclusion, this scenario again brings about the conclusion that the rep from Electoral Commission gave, that he believes education is going on very well. Again, I say it is not going on very well. It's not going on very well because I am sure if this member of mine has been well educated, he wouldn't have been having this doubt in the mind. We may be employing other channels, just like he said rightly, the televisions and the rest that people might not be watching. Education is not just about one aspect. The final purpose is that it will get to the people we've targeted. So if we are using television and other media, and others are still complaining that education is not enough, we should just know that our medium may not be the most appropriate. And so we can employ other avenues to ensure that collectively we can work on it. But please, the equipment, I am happy again, you said the ones that are going to be used are different from the one being used. It buttresses what I was told when I returned from Upper West and I got to your office to complain about the same thing. But let us ensure that the new equipment we are going to buy will be a bit durable, because clearly I have put it on record that the equipment that are being used now, they are not of the best. You can't go and get a new laptop, and then when the laptop is working for about 3-4 hours, I have been in a queue from morning till about 11 o'clock. I have to wait for about 2-3 hours because the laptop has freezed. It can't be the best of equipment for these purposes. Thank you very much.
I think the ordinary resident.
Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Tien Wadu, the National Chairman of the Democratic Post Party. I think because the understanding is that those who are staying outside, Ghanaians residents everywhere, are supposed to have certain rights of participation. So whether the person, where he resides in and all that, I think they have to handle it carefully. Aside of that, acts of political violence have the tendency to express themselves in mob actions, so that it is difficult always to pinpoint, to even identify the people who are doing it. And I believe in almost all the political parties, you have the trouble causes operating like a cabal, a kind of mischief group, and the political leaders themselves might not even have any hand in controlling them. They are just there. These chief people who, perhaps they have their own understanding of peace and as well as violence. They might think it's a legitimate way to make people take serious notice of them. So the security agencies ought to be very much aggressive and, try to rise up to the level. Then we have also the issue of the inflow of funds. Without funds, there can be no violence. Finance is fueled by dirty money. You see, so there should be serious efforts to try to track, locate, and find out the cocaine money and all those kind of things. Because wherever they go, they create trouble. So, like the religious groups and others, if you don't want, the best thing is to end this is to find a way of generating internal money, which can be used internally by the political parties, so that they don't depend on outside source of funding. Outside sources of funding, they are meant to create problems in the country. So look at it that way. And then also, you see, aside of the biometric verification, you have, after the elections proper, the issue of the counting of the votes, the collation, and then the recording. These are the trouble areas. You see, if you are making entries of votes counted, and instead of 401, you could go and make it 41 and all that, or even add some to it, it leads to trouble. So we should not only focus on biometric and verification as if that is the only source capable of creating confusion. Look at the recording, the entries, the things they put down on paper after they have counted. So many wonderful things happen.